Welcome to my kitchen, where we bring Middle Eastern cooking to America. In today's show, I'll be making these amazing meat pies, cheese pies, and other kind of bread with cheese flatbread and Zaater bread. In today's show, I'll be making meat pies. The dough is made with whole wheat flour, water, yeast, olive oil, dried milk, honey. Small portions of dough is filled with mixture of sautéed onion, meat, and spices. The pies will be baked in the oven until golden brown. Also, I'll be making cheese pies. The dough is made with flour, yeast, milk, olive oil. Small portions of dough is filled with mixture of feta cheese, cottage cheese, cheddar cheese, and beaten eggs with some parsley and mint. The pies will be baked in the oven until golden brown. I will be also making cheese pies. The dough is made with flour, yeast, milk, and olive oil. Small portions of dough is filled with a mixture of feta cheese, cottage cheese, cheddar cheese, and beaten eggs. To that, also we add some chopped parsley and mint. The other kind of filling is made with feta cheese, chopped onion, and parsley. The pies will be baked in the oven until golden brown. With this, I will be making two kinds of flatbread. The first one is cheese flatbread. The dough is made with flour, yeast, dried milk, and olive oil. Portions of dough will be placed on baking pan, flattened and sprinkled with a mixture of mozzarella cheese, feta cheese, cheddar cheese, and Parmesan cheese as topping. Baked in the oven until golden brown. The other popular Middle Eastern flatbread is Zaater bread. The dough is made with the basic ingredients for making dough, just flour, yeast, and water. Portions of dough are placed on baking pan and flattened and spread with a mixture of Zaater blend and olive oil, baked in the oven until golden. We'll start our show today by preparing the dough for the meat pies. For this recipe, I'll be using whole wheat flour. We just want to make them a little bit healthier and they taste really good with the meat filling that we are going to make. So for this recipe, before we start doing anything, I will have half cup of water, lukewarm water, temperature between 98 and 100 degrees. To this, I will add 5 teaspoons, equivalent to 2 envelopes dry yeast. You notice that we are using a little bit more yeast for this recipe because we are using whole wheat flour. It requires us to use a little bit more of yeast when we are using whole wheat flour. We'll let it sit for about 5 minutes. For the dry ingredients, I have 4 cups whole wheat flour. To this, I will add 1.5 teaspoons of salt and 1/4 cup of dried milk. It's gonna give it so much softness to this dough and it will be great. We will mix the dry ingredients until nicely blended. To our mixing bowl, we will add the remaining 1 cup of lukewarm water. We also need to add 1/4 cup of olive oil. I'm using extra virgin always. We will add the 1/4 cup of honey to our mixing bowl. And now we are going to use the mixing attachment. We'll mix all the wet ingredients together. And gradually and slowly we will add the dry ingredient mixture, which is the whole wheat flour, dried milk, and salt. And that's it. Real easy recipe to make, only few ingredients, and it will be great. If you don't like to use whole wheat flour, all 4 cups, you can maybe use 2 cups of whole wheat flour and 2 cups of just bread flour, or you could use 3 cups whole wheat and 1 cup, whatever you prefer. I like to use all 4 cups of whole wheat flour. I want to make sure it's nice and healthy. Mixture is nicely blended. We're gonna change the mixing attachment into dough hook attachment to finish kneading the dough. Our dough is nice and smooth and it's looking really good. It's real easy dough to make and it's very, very healthy for you. We will transfer. I have another bowl here that I brushed with olive oil. We'll transfer the dough into this bowl. And now we will cover the dough with some plastic wrap and a kitchen towel. And we'll let it sit in a warm place to rest and rise for about an hour and a half or until it doubles in size. The whole wheat flour dough for the meat pies, it's been sitting for about 2 hours to rise. And look at this dough, look how it doubled in size. And it looks amazing, beautiful looking dough. So now what I would do is, I will take a portion of the dough and form it into a smooth ball and set it on a tray like this. We want to make sure the dough, again, it's gonna rest for about maybe 20 to 30 minutes before start filling them with the meat mixture. It's amazing looking dough, real easy to work with. It's not as sticky now. Once it sits to rest, to rise, it will not be that sticky. With this dough, we end up having 25 portions. Of course, it depends on how large the meat pies you want them to be. If you want them smaller than these or larger than these, it all depends on what size you like to have them. So we end up having 25 altogether. Now we will cover them again. Anytime you do anything to the dough, if you cut in it or if you're playing with it, it needs to rest for at least 20 minutes. So we'll let it rest for another 20 minutes before start filling them. To prepare the meat pie filling, we need to add 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil in a skillet like this or a frying pan like this. Let it heat for a minute or so. Oil is already heated. I will add 1 large chopped onion, finely chopped onion, to the heated oil, and we will saute until soft. Onion is nice and soft. We cooked it for about 3 minutes. To this, I will add 2 pounds of minced meat. I'm using beef, lean beef. I like to use minced meat, which it gives you more flavor for the filling. But of course, if you want to use ground beef, you can do the same thing. You're just gonna cook it exactly the same way. It might take even shorter time to cook. But I always like to use the minced meat. When you see chunks of meat in the meat pies, they are so delicious like that. So we will constantly stir until the meat is all brown. Meat is all nicely browned. Now to this, I will add 1 tablespoon of curry powder. Of course, depending on how spicy and how much curry powder you want to add to your meat. And also we'll add 1 tablespoon of mixed baharat, mixed spices, which is a blend of about 6 to 8 kinds of spices, and such as black pepper, red pepper, cinnamon, cumin, many other spices. And we will use some salt and some black pepper just to season. All depends on how spicy you want. you want it to be spicier, you can add more spices. You want it to be less spicy. If your kids will not tolerate spicy food, you can just control the amount of spices and the curry that you are going to add to the meat. And we will mix everything nicely together. It smells so good. I wish you can smell this. It smells amazing. We will reduce the heat to medium to low and put the lid back on and cook it for about 10 to 15 minutes until nice and tender and all the liquid is evaporated. Now the meat pies are ready to be filled with our meat mixture, which is very cold, and the dough is already doubled in size again. See how beautiful, gorgeous looking dough. What I would do is I will just brush some oil on the work surface here. We are not using any flour or any rolling dough, and I will take one portion at a time and just open it up to like maybe 3 to 4 inches in diameter. Circle. Look how easy it will open, and it's really nice looking dough. And then what I would do is I will take about 2 tablespoons of meat filling and spread it in the center. And we want to form these pies into a triangle. Of course, you can form them in any shape you like. If you want to do them round or you know, even rectangle or square. But to identify them from the cheese one that we make, so we will form these into a triangle. So what I would do is I will bring 2 points of dough and seal them together just like that to form a beautiful triangle. And we will place this, we'll flip it, place it on a baking tray, seam side down, and that's it. Looks beautiful. We want to leave about an inch in between each pie, because when they cook, they will even expand more. And we will keep repeating the same method for all these beautiful meat pies. Put some filling in the center, about 2 tablespoons, depending on how much filling you like to add. Bring the sides. We're working with 3 points to create the triangle shape. If we were doing a square shape, we will work with 4 sides. And we just smooth all these seams nicely, flip it, and then place it on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. To make these meat pies even healthier using the whole wheat flour, you can always use chicken or even turkey to make them healthier. If you don't want to use red meat, or if you know, sometimes many people try to shy away from using red meat, so you could use chicken or turkey. You can also use the cheese filling that we are using for the cheese pies. You could use that kind of filling too if you don't want to use meat. Of course, again, we will cover the meat pies and let them rest for about 15 minutes before they go in the oven to bake. The meat pies were resting for about 15 minutes here. Here I have 2 eggs. I will add 1 tablespoon of water and whisk. This will be our egg wash to brush the meat pies with. we will make just some indentation with a fork. This will help the meat pies not to puff up, and this will help the steam to escape also. Perfect. And then last step is to brush the entire pie with the egg wash. Perfect. I have my oven preheated to 400 degrees. We'll bake the meat pies in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes until golden brown. We'll check on our meat pies. They've been baking in the oven for about 17 minutes, and I wish you can smell them. They smell amazing. And look how gorgeous they look, how beautiful golden brown, and the shape of triangle gives them some character also, and they look beautiful. We will set them on the side to cool off before serving them. Now it's time for us to prepare the dough for the cheese pie. This recipe also is very easy, and it's going to be nice and soft, and it will be great for the filling that we are using. We are using actually 2 different kinds of fillings. For this recipe, we have half cup of lukewarm water. To this, I will add 1 envelope, which is equivalent to 2.5 teaspoons of dry yeast. And we will add 1 tablespoon of sugar. Sugar makes the yeast rise much faster, and we'll let it sit for about 5 minutes. I have 4 cups of bread flour here. To this, I will add 1 teaspoon of salt, to our yeast, I will add 1 cup of lukewarm milk, temperature between 98 and 100, and also 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil. This will keep the dough very, very soft and very flavorful also. We will mix all the wet ingredients together, and gradually I will add the flour and the salt mixture. When making a dough, you want to make sure you follow the recipe 100%. You can't really add more flour or take away more flour or more liquid. So you want to make sure you use the same recipe every single time, so it will be easy for you. It will always come out right. And this recipe you will love so much, and you will make it all the time. It's really easy, and it will be a beautiful dough to work with too. Everything is nicely mixed. We will change the mixing attachment to the dough hook attachment. We'll finish kneading the dough. Dough is nice and smooth, it's beautiful, and it's soft, and this is exactly how we want it. And I have another bowl here that I brushed with some olive oil. We will transfer the dough into the second bowl. We'll cover the bowl with some saran wrap. We brush both sides with olive oil also, and then a clean kitchen towel, and we'll let it sit to rest for about hour to hour and a half, or until it's doubled in size. The cheese pie dough has been sitting for about hour and a half. It's beautifully nice and risen and doubled in size and looks beautiful. Look at this. Now we will divide the dough into small portions. Take about maybe a little bit larger than a walnut size piece of dough, and form it into a smooth ball. and set it on a tray like that. This dough recipe will give us 24 pies, cheese pies. Of course, depending on the size of pies that you like. Making them this size, a little bit over a walnut size, will give you 24 of them. But you can cut them any size you want. It could be smaller or larger. Now we will cover these just like same way we do anything when touching the dough. We need to let it rest again for maybe about 20 minutes before start filling them with the cheese mixtures. The dough for the cheese pie has been sitting for about 20 minutes and it's beautiful, nice and risen. Now we will prepare the filling, the cheese filling actually, to use for filling these cheese pies. We are using two kinds of cheese filling. The first one is a combination of different kinds of cheeses with eggs and parsley and mint. So for this recipe we need 2 cups of crumbled feta cheese. That's gonna go on a bowl like this. And 1 cup of cottage cheese. 1 cup of cheddar cheese, shredded cheddar cheese. Half cup of chopped parsley. And 1/4 cup of chopped mint. And we also need 4 eggs for this recipe that we always crack in a bowl. The egg will work almost like a glue to combine everything together, and it's gonna be a nice filling for these pies. We'll add the eggs in here, and then we will season it with just some black pepper. We don't want to add any salt because the feta cheese and the other kind of cheeses, they already have enough salt in them. Perfect. And we will cover it with some saran wrap. And we'll leave this in the fridge until we are ready to use it. To prepare the second filling that we are using for the cheese pies is 2 cups of feta cheese, crumbled feta cheese, 1 cup of chopped parsley, it's amazing filling, and 1 chopped onion. It's going to be a beautiful filling. Look at this. Real simple, but very flavorful. We'll mix them nicely together and we will set it on the side until we are ready to use the filling. Now we are ready to fill the cheese pies with the fillings that we use. The dough is beautiful, nice and risen. We will take a piece and just stretch it out into about 4 to 5 inches circle, just like that. And we will place some feta cheese, parsley and onion mixture in the middle. We'll bring the dough over the filling to close it. Make sure the seams are nicely sealed, just like that. And then we will place it in a pan like this, seam side down, flatten it a little bit. Perfect. And we will continue opening out the dough and placing some filling in the middle. Bring the sides over the filling and seal everything. Flip it and place it in a pan like this. If you don't have, these are like muffin pans. If you don't have something like this, or actually English muffin pans, if you don't have something like this, you can just place them on a tray lined with parchment paper. It should be just fine. We will cover the cheese spice, let them rest for about 10 minutes before they go in the oven to bake. You could use any cheese mixture or any kind of herbs. If you want to add basil, or you can add rosemary or even thyme to the cheese mixture. You could use green onion instead. You could do whatever you want. And now we will, this tray is already nice and rested. We let it rest for about 20 minutes. To finish it off is we will flatten it a little bit more. You see how easy it will flatten once it's rested for a few minutes. Much easier. And then we will make indentation with a fork on each one of them. This will let the steam escape, and brush each pie with the egg wash, beaten eggs with some water. And we'll sprinkle some sesame seeds just to identify these cheese pies from the other cheese pies, the other filling that we are gonna use, just to identify them. And they will taste so good too. I like using sesame seeds on these. I have my oven preheated to 400 degrees. We'll bake the cheese pies in the oven for about 15 minutes. We'll check on the cheese pies. You can already smell the mint and the parsley and the feta cheese. And look how beautiful they look. Golden brown, and they smell amazing. We'll set them on the side to cool off. And now we are using the other filling. It's same way exactly, opening these pieces of dough and using the other kind of cheese mixture with the feta cheese and the cottage cheese and the parsley and the mint and the cheddar cheese also. We will just put some filling in the middle, bring the sides over the cheese and flatten it and place it in an English muffin pan like this. And if you don't have these, you can just use regular trays. You can decide using the cheese one round or circle, or the meat one into a triangle. You could choose whatever you want, as long as you identify them to know which one has meat, which one has cheese, or what kind of cheese mixture there is. It's just to identify these meat pies and the cheese pies together. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what shape you like to shape them into. They will all taste the same. The cheese pies with the other kind of filling that we use, the cottage cheese filling, they've been resting for about 20 minutes. Look how beautiful, how nicely. You can stretch them out even more. Looks beautiful. To identify these cheese pies from the other ones, we are not going to use sesame seeds on this one. All what you have to do is make the indentation and brush them with some egg wash, and they'll be ready to go in the oven to bake. I have my oven preheated to 400 degrees. We'll bake these cheese pies in the oven for about 15 minutes until golden brown. We'll check on the cheese pies. Smell amazing. Look how beautiful. Golden brown. They look amazing. Beautiful. We'll set them on the side to cool off before serving them. Now it's time to prepare the dough for the Zaater bread. This is really easy dough also to make. It does not need any oil or any milk or anything like that. The main ingredients are, we have 2 cups of lukewarm water here. We'll add ½ cup to our mixing bowl, and to this we will add 1 envelope, which is 2½ teaspoons of dry yeast, and 1 tablespoon of sugar, and we'll let it sit for 5 minutes. Here I have 5 cups of bread flour. To this I will add 1 tablespoon of salt, and gradually we will add the remaining water, which is another 1.5 cups, and the flour and salt mixture. And that's it. You see, only few ingredients. It's very simple dough to make, but it will be so delicious. With the za'atar mix and the olive oil, will be great. Mixture is nicely mixed. Like we always do, we will change the mixing attachment to the dough hook attachment to finish kneading the dough. Or of course, if you don't have a machine like this and you like to knead the dough by hand, you can do that too. I always love to use the machine. It will give you beautiful dough. Dough is nicely and smooth. Another beautiful dough. We'll transfer it to a bowl, brushed with olive oil. Turn to coat all surfaces with olive oil, and cover with some saran wrap and the kitchen towel, and we will let it sit for 1.5 hours or until it's doubled in size. The dough for the za'atar bread also, it's been sitting for about 2 hours actually. It's beautiful, nice and resin. Here I have some baking pans that I will brush with some olive oil. You could use any pans. If you don't have something like this, you could just use small pizza pans, maybe about 8 inches in diameter or even larger. It will be great. We'll brush them with some olive oil, and then we will divide the dough into about 6 equal portions. Flatten just a little bit. We don't want to overwork the dough. We have to be very gentle. And then once it sits to rest, it will be so easy to flatten it even more. So we have to do this step first. After the dough is all risen, we have to kind of divide it and let it sit to rest again for another 20 to 30 minutes. We will cover each one of them with some saran wrap that's already been oiled with some olive oil, and we will let them sit for about 20 to 30 minutes before flattening them even more. The za'atar dough, it's been sitting to rest for about probably 30 minutes, and it looks nice and rested. The dough is beautiful. Now we will prepare the topping that goes on it. We will just flatten them a little bit to get them ready before we spread any of the za'atar mixture on top of them. Just want to make sure they are nice and rested. Perfect. And now here I have 2 cups of za'atar mix. The za'atar mix is something I mixed together. It's thyme. It's about 3/4 cup of thyme, 3/4 cup of sesame, toasted sesame seeds, and ½ cup of sumac. So only 3 ingredients, and I put a little bit of salt in it. You can buy Zaater mix already from many supermarkets, even Kroger sometimes they carry it, or you can buy it from any Middle Eastern store, or you can make your own. It's very easy. It's only 3 ingredients. It's thyme, sesame seeds, and sumac. And depending on how much you like it to be sour, you can add more sumac. If you like more sesame seeds, less sesame seeds, it's up to you what kind of blend you like to make. To this, I will add some olive oil. I'm adding about 1 cup to this mixture, and we're gonna mix everything together nicely to form a nice paste. Beautiful, smells amazing, smells incredible. Love this blend. This is very, very healthy for you. You can spread this on bread. You can also spread it on some yogurt or even avocado cheese. We will take some of this mixture, about maybe 2 to 3 tablespoons on each, depending on how much you like. So I will divide this mixture in between all these 6 loaves. If you like to use less za'atar, you can do that, or you can use even more if you want. To me, more is better. Love the flavors. I will dip my hand with some olive oil and try to spread the za'atar blend over the dough evenly. And at the same time, you need to stretch the dough out even more to press the za'atar mixture on the dough by itself. And look how gorgeous this looks. Make a lot of indentations with your fingers on top of the dough. You can always add some feta cheese or any kind of cheese with this za'atar if you like. The za'atar bread is ready to go in the oven to bake. We have the oven preheated to 450 degrees. We'll bake them for 15 to 17 minutes. We'll check on the za'atar bread. It's been baking in the oven for 17 minutes. Smells incredible. My whole kitchen is full of this beautiful blend, the thyme and the sesame seeds. It smells great. We'll set them on the side to cool off for a few minutes. Now it's time for us to prepare the dough for the cheese flatbread. For this, we have 2 cups of lukewarm water. We'll add ½ cup to the mixing bowl and 1 envelope equivalent to 2½ teaspoons of dry yeast. One tablespoon of sugar. We'll let it sit for 5 minutes. In the meantime, we will prepare the dry ingredients. Here I have 5½ cups of bread flour. To this, I will add ½ cup of dried milk. Dried milk will make this dough very, very soft. And we will add 1 teaspoon of salt. We don't want to add too much salt because we are using different kind of cheeses and they already have enough salt in them. So just 1 teaspoon, which is just good enough. Now we will add the remaining water, which is 1½ cups to the yeast mixture. And we will also add 1/4 cup of olive oil. And gradually we will add the flour mixture to the liquid. This kind of bread is really nice to have any time of the day. It's nice to have for breakfast, even as a snack, or even with for lunch with some salad or a piece of chicken or meat. They freeze very well, so you can make a bunch of them and freeze them. Our mixture is nicely mixed, and like we always do, we will finish kneading the dough by changing the attachment. Making dough, it's really so much fun, especially for little kids. They always love to watch their mom or someone else making the dough. When my kids were young, we always sat together and made the dough, and they always had so much fun. So it'll be a nice project, especially summer vacation and the kids are off from school, to sit and make dough with them. You can make cheese bread, you can make even pizza or any meat pies. They will love helping you and have hands-on with this kind of project or this kind of dough making. Look at this beautiful dough. Smooth and soft and pliable. Looks great. We will transfer it to another bowl that's brushed with some olive oil. We'll turn it to coat all surfaces with some oil, and then we will cover it with some saran wrap and a kitchen towel, and we'll let it sit in a warm place for an hour to hour and a half, or until it's doubled in size. And now we will divide the dough for the cheese flatbread into our baking trays. I'm using 12 inches baking trays here. They are like pizza pans, but of course you could use any pans, baking pans that you want. They could be smaller or even larger, or square or rectangle, whatever you prefer to use. I'm using around 12 inches. And this dough recipe will give us 4 flat cheese bread loaves. So I will divide the dough into 4 equal portions. Form it into a nice smooth ball and just flatten it a little bit for now. You don't want to overwork the dough. When using smaller pizza pans, of course, you might end up having 6 or even 8 of them. But I'm using this size, the larger ones. So this recipe will give us 4 of them. Flatten it a little bit. Cover it with oiled saran wrap. And we will let it sit for another 20 to 30 minutes before flatten it again. The cheese flatbread has been sitting to rest for about 30 minutes. And look how beautiful and puffed they look. Now what I would do is I will just stretch them out in the baking pan. Look how easy they stretch out once they are rested. We'll make sure they are nice and thin. Perfect. And now we will prepare the topping. We have 4 kinds of cheese that we are using. We are using 1 cup of crumbled feta cheese. I like using feta cheese with any pies. It gives you so much flavor and so much sharpness. And I'm using 1 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. You could use grated also if you want, but I like the shredded, will have more flavor. And then I'm using 1 cup of mozzarella cheese, also shredded, and 1 cup of cheddar shredded cheese. Of course, it's optional. You could use any different kind of shredded cheese that you like, but these 4 combinations together, they will give us the most beautiful and delicious flatbread, cheese flatbread. You can substitute any of these cheese to another kind of cheese that you like. or you could just use all these for different kind of combinations. If you want to eliminate one of them, you can also do that. If you don't like feta cheese, you don't have to use feta cheese. You can substitute feta cheese with blue cheese if you want. And we will take some handfuls of the cheese mixture and try to press it down into the dough, and at the same time to flatten the dough even more. Just like that. Could use it more cheese, less cheese. It depends on how much you like to use cheese. You could use just a little bit if you don't want to use too much cheese. And we'll make some indentation on the bread to make sure these cheeses are going to be pressed into the dough. Perfect. The cheese bread, it's ready to go in the oven to bake. I have the oven preheated 450 degrees. We will bake the cheese bread for about 15 minutes. We'll check on the cheese bread. It's been baking for about 15 minutes. Look how beautiful color, golden color, the melted cheeses, and it smells incredible. We'll set them on the side to cool off for a few minutes. That's how much time we have for today. In today's show, we made beautiful recipes using different kinds of doughs. We made meat pies using whole wheat flour. We made cheese pies using 2 different kinds of filling. And we made cheese, a flatbread. We made Zaater Flatbread. Thank you so much for coming to my kitchen and enjoy Middle Eastern cooking. We hope to see you next time with more exotic dishes from the Middle East. You can watch our program every Monday and Thursday on MEA TV, and you can also go to YouTube. Just go to Samira's Kitchen and watch all the episodes that you missed, and we hope to see you next time with more exotic dishes. لاقتناء كتب الطبخ مالتي، مختارات من فنون الطبخ، Treasured Middle Eastern Cookbook, A Baking Journey، اتصلوا على my email scholagh11@yahoo.com.